Okay, everybody, this is section 1.4, and this is going to deal with angles, which in geometry is just, hopefully it's obvious, just a pretty important concept that we use pretty much all year long. Okay, so really important that you get all these terms down and study them, get to know them. Memorizing is a good thing. So please make sure you're taking good notes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull all the definitions out. And then if you want to, you can go ahead and hit pause and you can get them all down. And then once you get them all down, you can hit play again. And what I'm also going to do is do some illustration of some of these different terms so you have pictures to go with the definition. So I'll do those when you're done with your definitions here. Okay, so hit pause when I pull them all out, write them all down, hit play, and then I'll be going through the kind of the illustration part. All right. Okay, so let's go through this. An angle is going to be two rays with the same initial point. We talked about rays in a different section. Remember, a ray is going to be a point and it goes in a particular direction. But an angle is created by two rays that come from the same point or the same initial point. So I have rays like that. All right, and they could be any, they're going to look totally different from one to the other. So that's just kind of an example. So we also then need to name them and be able to write them. So what we're going to do is we're going to give that initial point, which is also the vertex. That's a term you just got. We're going to use the word vertex more often. We're going to give it a letter, and I'm going to call that one A. And then I need to find a point on each ray and also name that point. So if you want to go ahead and do that. This is going to help me to name the angle so I know which one are you talking about. So a couple different ways we can do this. First off, we use this symbol that just stands for the word angle. The vertex is the important one here, okay? So what I'm going to do is take a point from one of the rays, so I'll take B in this case. I'm going to put the vertex, in this case A, and then I'm going to take a point from the other ray and create the name for the angle I'm looking at. So in this case, it's going to be angle BAC with A being in the middle all the time. The vertex has to go in the middle all the time. Okay. I could call it, I can go the other way. I could start with C, point on the ray. I'm going to use the vertex in the middle, and I could use the point on the other ray, in this case B. I could call it angle CAB. Same thing. Okay. If this is the only angle that I'm really using, I could just use the vertex to name it. Okay, that doesn't happen very often, but I can do that if that's the only angle I got. Okay, so typically your choices of how to write and identify angles is using that. The vertex is always the middle letter. Okay. All right, going through these definitions, we're going to name angles. There's 4 different types that we can get, and I base everything off of a right angle. So when you see that symbol, that's telling me this is an angle, and that angle has a measure of 90 degrees. That little box in the corner is going to tell me that. Okay, so I base everything else off of that. So an acute angle is an angle, and this says the measure of angle A, and it's got to be greater than 0 and less than 90. Okay, so and what I think of, well, then it has to be opening less than 90 degrees. So it might look something like that. Okay, for an acute angle. A right angle the measure of a right angle has to be 90 degrees. So that's kind of what I did here. Okay. An obtuse angle. So the measure of an obtuse angle has to be greater than 90, but less than 180. Okay. So if I go back and look at my right angle, an obtuse angle by this definition has to open greater than 90. So it might look something like that. Bigger than 90 degrees, the opening, okay? Or the distance between the two rays. Okay, a straight angle is going to be 180 degrees. So remember, an angle's got to have a vertex. It's made up of a ray, and a straight angle is going to look like that. Its opening is this, so that's 180 degrees, okay? So this also is known as a line or opposite rays. We talked about that in a different section. So kind of coming back and we're building on top of that, okay? Adjacent rays are two angles that share a side. So what you're going to have is something like this where you have kind of a big angle, but then you have a ray in between them, or in between the rays that made the bigger angle up, and you're able to share a side. Okay, so if I label these, let's call this B, and this is A, and this is C. We got D down here. Okay, we're going to be able to say that angle BAC and angle CAD are adjacent. Adjacent means next to. So they're next to each other because they share this ray AC. Okay, so we learned about a ray in a different section. Okay, so that's really important. You should make sure you write all that down with your notes. Okay, a vertex, we learned, is also known as the initial point of an angle. We did that back up here. A was the initial point, and I drew two rays off of it, okay? We don't use the term initial point too much now. We're really going to be working on that vertex term, okay? Congruent angles are just angles with the same measure. So that shouldn't be too difficult. If I have an angle that's 52 degrees and I have another angle that's 52 degrees, then they're going to be congruent. Okay? All right, so a lot there. Really got to make sure you study it. Big one's going to be acute and obtuse. Those are just terms. If you don't study it, sometimes the mistake is we get them kind of flipped. Know what they mean. It's not that tough. Just make sure you put some study time into that. Okay. Down here at the bottom, we have an angle addition postulate. Basically, what that means is I can add two angles together, and it just gives me a bigger angle. Okay. So they tell me that P is inside of angle RST. Okay, but angle RST is made up of this angle and this angle here. Okay, so what this postulate is saying is I could take angle RSP, add it to angle PST, and those two angles together just give me a bigger angle. Angle RST. Okay, not rocket science right there. Okay, I can add two things together and get something bigger. Okay. Okay. Up here we got some choices. We have acute, the Energizer Bunny. We got obtuse. We have right. We got straight. Okay. So we're going to use those choices to name A, B, C, and D just by looking at it. So once again, I kind of use the right angle to kind of, understand what term I can give it. I'm going to assume that A is 90. It's not good for me to assume, but it looks like that's 90. I'm going to put the box there just to say that it is, and that is a right angle. So I'm going to do that. look at each one and see what it might be, okay? So if you look at B, to me that looks like it opens less than 90, and if I remember my rule, anything that opens less than 90 is acute, okay? If I look at C, now its opening to me looks like it's bigger than 90 degrees, so I'm going to call that obtuse. Okay, and D to me looks like a straight line, and a straight line is also a straight angle, so that's got to be 180 degrees, so it's a straight angle. Okay. All right, so then E, F, G, and H, they're giving you actual measurements. So I'm going to let you guys just kind of do these four on your own. By the measurement, what would I call it? Okay, so I'll give you a minute there to do those. Okay, so in E, angle R is 120. Anything that's bigger than 90 and less than 180 is obtuse. Okay. For F, angle T is 62 degrees, so anything that's less than 90 and bigger than 0 is acute. G, anything that's equal to 180 is straight. Then in H, the measure of angle S is equal to 90. Anything equal to 90 is right. Okay. All right. Okay, in exercise 2, you have a little graph on your notes there, and they have A, B, and C. So once you go ahead and plot those points on the graph, label them A, B, and C. Okay. Hopefully we can graph points. They want to know what would I call or label angle BAC. So angle B, remember A is the vertex, it has to be, it's in the middle, so it has to be the vertex. So if I draw my angle BAC, it should look like that. I need to classify it. What kind of angle is it? To me, it looks like it opens less than 90, so that would be acute. Okay. All right, down here on the bottom, we have some angles, and we have some measurements, all right? We want to be able to add them together and get the biggest angle. For C, this line, I think you have it in your notes. I don't have it here, but there's an arc right there. That arc means that the entire opening is 143. Okay, so that one you have to do a little bit different. Hopefully you can use some common sense. Do that one. I'll let you guys do these three kind of on your own. So if you want to hit pause and do them, I'm just going to start doing them right now. And then hit play when you come back. Okay. So angle ABC is my big angle, so I think it's made up of two smaller angles, so I'm allowed to add them together. And 62 plus 43, I'm sorry, 62 plus 34 should give me 96 degrees. Okay. I got, it looks like to me a straight line. I know that's 180, so let's see what happens. So if I add 55 and 125 together, that gives me 180. Okay. All right. Now on this one, a little bit trickier. They give me the whole angle. You know, that's what I was doing on the first two. So what I think they want me to do is to find the angle in here that's this one. Okay. So I think I have to do this a little bit differently. I'm not going to add them together. I'm going to go ahead and subtract the big one and subtract the small one from it. Okay. So I think if I subtract those two, I think I get 102 degrees. and that would be where I have my question mark, okay? And let's go backwards just for kicks so we get some practice. How would I label this first one? What would I call it? Well, 96 is bigger than 90 and less than 180, so it would be obtuse. Okay. The B is equal to 180, so anything equal to 180 degrees is straight. Okay, and then this angle I found was 102. Anything bigger than 90 and less than 180 is obtuse. Okay, all right. So that I think takes us to the end here. Just really important that you study those terms and get to know them. Don't get them messed up. It's really important that you do the classwork, and if you have any questions, just get a hold of me. Okay. So do a good job, and we'll see you in class.